welcome. It's great to have you here. So today I will be sharing on how to dine with kings, and just some thoughts that can help you connect with people who are highly placed, people who are in privileged positions, people who are at a level higher than yourself. It's very important to know that high level relationships also are governed by high level protocol. High level relationships are governed by high level protocol, and you will ignore those protocols to your own detriment. Sometimes people just want to argue about everything. They just want to argue. They really don't want to learn about how it works. If everything worked the way we thought, maybe everyone will have everything. Okay, but everything will never work the way you think they should. Things have their protocols, and you may not know it all. So it's important that if you're going to engage in a certain way, right, you have to understand certain kinds of protocol so that things can work great for you. So to connect with kings, you must know how to relate with kings. You must understand what kings look out for. Generally speaking, as I get started, you must know that kings are, generally speaking, kings are impatient. They're impatient. Okay? Kings like the best of the best. So you would find, like in 1 Samuel chapter 16, where there's a vacancy in the palace and Saul needs a harp player. And he says to his servants in verse 17 of 1 Samuel 16, he says, "Seek me now a man that can play well, And to convince the king about this man, in verse 18, the resume of David is read. And he says, I've seen a man, a son of Jesse. He's a mighty, valiant man. He's prudent in matters. He's skillful in the playing of the harp. He's a comely person. And the Lord is with him." What a resume. So the guy shows up on his first day at work and he gets his first promotion to become armor bearer. As a matter of fact, the Bible records that when he showed up, Saul loved him. He was just together. He had prepared himself. Kings like the best of the best. If you're going to get the attention of kings, you have to know your onions. Kings are not looking for people who are learning their craft. Kings are looking for people who have honed their craft, people who have mastered the arts, people who are, czars in the making, people who are head honchos in the arts that they represent. So kings always want the best. Kings are pretty impatient. They want the best now. Well, some other things that can help you in your connection with kings. Recognition. It's important to be able to recognize a king. It's not every day that a king will show up in regular kingly regalia. Who's a king in your field? Who's a king, in your areas of interest? Are there kings you have identified? Never be mistaken. Don't judge who a king is by the simplicity of their disposition. You would make one of your biggest mistakes to take people for granted just because, you can shake hands with them, you can give them a hug, you can talk with them, you can share a joke with them, you can laugh with them or sit on the same table to eat with them. Very big mistake. There are people that's just their personality. I learned, and I'm going to teach here right now, never relate with anyone according to their simplicity. Relate with people according to their value and significance in your life. Never relate with anyone according to their simplicity. Relate with them according to their value and significance in your life. Some of the people who have shown interest and contributed as far as wisdom and sometimes in kind in your life the most are people you should honor. But sometimes, because these people come in simple packages, there's a tendency to belittle what they represent in your life. There's a tendency to ignore the vast influence that they have brought into your life. There's also a tendency to celebrate people whose inputs in your life, whose input in your life isn't as powerful as these other people, just because these ones come in simple packages. Never relate with people according to their simplicity. Relate with people according to their value and significance. According to their value and significance in your life. Do you know how to recognize a king? And when you recognize a king, do you acknowledge them? Acknowledgement is another key. You have to acknowledge them. You have to acknowledge them. And that's another mistake that is usually commonly made. When you see a king and you recognize that this is a king, acknowledge that person. Don't just take it for granted that, oh, this person is accessible. No, acknowledge them. Say something. Sir, I realized this, that. Ma, I noticed this. You know, verbalize your appreciation of who they are. I want to thank you for the privilege of access. I have learned this from you. I've learned that from you. I've learned that from you. You know, there's some people who just always seek your attention. They feel entitled to your life, to your time, to your resources, and they have never shown any kind of appreciation in words, in actions. They've never demonstrated any form of I'll say value, sense of value for who you are, what you stand for, and what you represent. Truth is, in the process of time, those relationships begin to fail. In the process of time, those relationships begin to fail. What you do not know how to value, you will lose. Again, what you delay in expressing value for, you are at risk of losing. What you delay in expressing value for, you are at risk of losing. Truth is, when you find a king and you acknowledge them and you demonstrate, whether in words or actions, your value for them, it matters. It matters a lot. Let me tell you, if you have people you always want to talk with, when you're in difficult circumstances, people you call up to pick their brain, to speak to you, to pray for you, to talk to you, people who teach you wisdom, people you can look back in your life and say, look, I have come this far because of this person's input in my life, right? Those kinds of people, you should never take them for granted. You should never take them for granted. But it takes wisdom and maturity. It takes wisdom and maturity to exalt highly those who have played and those who are playing very significant roles in your life. You will lose your biggest blessings if you don't have good understanding and you don't have the right attitude towards people that God has put in your life. So recognition, acknowledgement, honor. Honor is a very scarce commodity in our day and time. Honor. Honor is not just a mind thing. Honor is demonstrated in words. Honor is demonstrated in actions. Honor will be reflected in sacrifices. Sacrifices. Honor. Honor is also demonstrated in the comeback principle. What do I mean by the comeback principle? Jesus heals 10 lepers. Only one returns. When this one returns, he asks, where are the 9? Where are the 9? Where are the 9? But they're not 10 that were healed. Where are the 9? Where are the 9? When we don't come back, it rings up a red flag. You can't come back only when you have another need. You can't come back only when you need another counsel. You know, sometimes you check and you have contributed immensely in the lives of some people that you never get to hear about again, never get to see until when they're in trouble again. You cannot, if you keep doing that, you put yourself in a place where we can say you are a user, right? You are a user, and we're going to have to say user discretion is advised. You know, you don't want to be a user. If there are people that are so important to you, always come back. You can come back with an acknowledgement of how much they have contributed to your life. You can come back with a thank you. You can come back with a gift. It's not enough that when you have a need, they are counseling, giving you wisdom, they're praying for you, or doing whatever it is they do to help you move forward. How about when you start making money? What happens? You disappear. You are never heard from again. You are busy. The next time they hear from you, you are coming to talk about how you lost big money. You know, you just lost 25 million last month. And in the mind of somebody, he's like, oh, so you had 25 million to lose. And we never heard from you, never heard about you, in spite of all the inputs that were made in your life. And you only want to come back when there's a problem. Don't be like that. Don't be like that. You can't keep relationships like that. You can't keep relationships like that. Acknowledge people that have helped you, honor. I shared a story of a billionaire who came into my city and asked for me to catch up with him, and so he wanted to introduce me to some people. So I catch up with him and he takes me to this place. This man, I think it was his birthday, I believe it was his birthday, and they were honoring that man. So he takes me and introduces me to the man and refers to the man as Captain. He says, meet my captain. We call him Captain. At this point, the billionaire was, of course, far richer than Captain. Captain was doing great. I mean, very good. Well-to-do, very well-to-do. Okay, but of course, the billionaire was definitely operating from a different planet. But he comes respectfully. He takes me and, that soft bow of respect, and introduces me to that man. And afterwards, either before we met him or after we met him, he starts telling me how that man played a very significant role in his life. And he says the man was in a very privileged position many years ago. He was a lot younger. That man took a liking to him and opened a big international door for him. He will never forget that man's contribution to his life. Okay, that international door set him up, positioned him, and much of what he has become now, he can trace to some of the opportunities he got because that door was opened. So he didn't come to this event in the pomp and majesty and pomp and pageantry of the billionaire. This person I'm talking about, as at my last check, had at least 2 ships, 2 badges. This is, as at last check, several years ago. He probably has more. He has other businesses and other businesses. I know him personally. He's a very close person. I know him personally. But I'll just keep it there, right? And to have shown so much honor, I learned so much from that gesture. That's what many people don't have today. There are people who have been helped. There are people who have been supported. There are people who have been fed. And by being fed, I'm not just referring to physical food, things that have revolutionized your thinking, things that, set the trajectories right for you to succeed. Spiritually, you've been fed and empowered, you're stable, you're balanced, you see life differently, you've entered into certain places because of exposure to information that has come from certain quarters. Hey, don't belittle them, and don't only return when you have the next problem. Look, in the principle of honor, The king may not be asking for the honor, but the king notices this honor. Write it down. The king notices this honor. I promise you, the king notices this honor. The king also notices honor. The king notices honor. You don't give to the king because he's in lack. You give to the king as a sign of honor. You give to the king as a sign of honor. Again, the king here refers to anyone who is in a privileged place, who's highly positioned, and who demonstrates great value and significance, or who represents great value and significance in your life, right? So honor brings connectivity. Honor solidifies connectivity. Where there's honor, connectivities get solidified. They get solidified. Always remember to return. Return. Might be a call, return. A message, return. Go the extra mile and show up. The people who cross 7 seas to see the king when they have a need, but they might leave just next city to the king when they are at peace, and the king won't see them because they're too busy. That's lack of understanding. That's lack of understanding. Honor is a scarce commodity, and I'm telling you that honor easily distinguishes people. It sets people apart, right? Honor differentiates the boys from the men. Make sure not only your words convey honor, but your actions. I realize that it's difficult to honor people if you're not humble. You have to be humble. There are people who think that acknowledging somebody who's higher than they are, or acknowledging someone who has played such a significant role in their lives is a form of belittlement to their person. But you see, people with inferiority complex always wear their ego on their sleeves. You don't want to do that. Be quick to point at people who have helped you, people who have pushed you. Tell stories of where your life was and how the inputs of certain people made such a significant difference in your life. It shows maturity. It shows that you have grown, and it shows appreciation. It shows appreciation. Service. Another way to dine with kings is to look for where to serve. Sometimes people make a mistake. The moment you approach a king, you're looking for how to rub shoulders. Look for where to serve. Every king has some need. Every king has an area where he needs solutions. And if you can find the one area where you can solve a problem for a king, I'm telling you, you're going to have room at his table. You have room at his table. So serve. You need humility of mind to be able to serve. Serve. Be willing to serve. That's the one thing some people can't do. Serve. Don't be ashamed of serving. You see, there's a story of Elisha. In 1 Kings chapter 19, God speaks to Elijah the prophet and says to him, hey, Elisha is going to be prophet in your room, in your stead. Okay, so he's going to be your replacement. And so Elijah passes by and says, Elisha. The Bible records that Elisha is plowing with the 12th yoke of oxen. I always like to describe and demonstrate and paint a graphic image of what that means. This guy was a wealthy farmer. He was no peasant. He was a wealthy farmer. One yoke of oxen could plow quite an area of land. 12 yokes of oxen will plow a vast area of land. And back in the day, the net worth of people was determined by the number of their cattle, their sheep, their goats, their silver and gold. Okay, so that's why you find the demonstration. The description of someone like Job in Job chapter 1, the Bible literally tells us how many sheep he had, how many this and how many that, and he was the wealthiest man in his area. So wealth was measured by the livestock that they had. Now, so this means Elisha was a wealthy guy. Look at the expanse of land he was cultivating. He was a wealthy guy. But Elijah comes and casts his mantle. This is not the second mantle. This is not the anointing mantle. There were two mantles that Elisha received. The first was an invitation to follow, an invitation to serve. The first was a confirmation that, hey, you're supposed to be following in this path. The first was just a call to follow. The second, which we find in 2 Kings chapter 11, was the anointing. Now, but that's not the mantle we're talking about. We're talking about the first mantle. Now, long story short, Elijah casts that mantle on Elisha, and Elisha leaves everything, runs after him, and ministers to him. The word minister there means to serve. Okay, he serves him. In 2 Kings, I believe it's in 2 Kings chapter 3, one time someone was making reference to Elisha, and he described Elisha as Elisha the son of Shaphat, who poured water in the hands of Elijah. So this wealthy farmer, when it was time for him to enter into the bigger things of God for his life, what God originally wanted him to be and to do, he knew enough to serve. There are many things we will learn only in the place of serving. You know, I heard Jesus say something in John chapter 15. He says to his disciples, he said, from henceforth, I do not call you servants, I call you friends, because a servant doesn't know the things that his master does, but I have told you all things. Mark the words. You can listen, or you can read that portion from a side that doesn't give you the entire picture of what it means. Okay, so he says to them, now let me paraphrase it. Because you have served, I have graduated you to a place where I can call you friends, and in this place I can make known all things to you. So service is the pathway to honor. Service is the pathway to promotion. Also notice that even though Jesus says, from henceforth I call you friends, there is no place in the entire New Testament where the disciples called Jesus friend. So this was more about a privilege, not something they were going to carelessly run around with. You know, some of you, once the king becomes friendly with you, you've lost it. Oh, what happened to Instagram? Oh, I think I have a disconnect on Instagram. This was off. Okay, so let's hope it comes. So once the king begins to be friendly with you, you've lost it. Once the king begins to be friendly with you, you know, familiarity sets in and things go sour so very quickly. I'd like you to know that friendliness from the king can be a form of test. Friendliness from the king can be a form of test. It can be a form of test. You don't want to fail the test. You do not want to fail the test. Okay, so serve. And lastly, observe protocols. Observe protocols. I said earlier that never relate with the king according to their simplicity. Relate with the king according to their value and significance in your life. According to their value and significance in your life. There are many protocols to observe. The protocols of timing. You know, keep appointments. Be there on time. You've been asked to come at 1 o'clock. Don't come at 1:30 and start explaining away things. If you know you're running late, send a message. If the appointment is going to be cancelled, give the king an opportunity to cancel the appointment. If it's okay for you to keep coming, then he tells you to keep coming. You can't also not keep an appointment and then show up 2 weeks later and say, oh, that day I was so tired from work, or this happened and that happened, and so that's why I could not come. Okay, can I see you tomorrow? You're not serious. You're not serious. You cannot put down the person of the king. You can't disregard people you want to connect with and hope that they give you the best opportunities. It's not going to happen. Our actions and behavior, our attitude are all pointers and predictors to the state and disposition of our seriousness. Okay, if you're not that serious, I don't think any serious person should give you serious time, if that makes any sense to you. You have to be that serious to get the time of people who are so busy and literally have to cut out very precious time from their schedule and give you an appointment. You must observe protocols on how to talk when you're with kings. You don't just talk and lose your mind. No. You have to be properly guided. You have to be properly guided. Speak when you're given an opportunity, but don't be flippant. Don't just open your mouth and run it. Don't just talk. Don't try to jump into everything and contribute to everything and speak. No, listen. Listening places a demand on resources. Listen until you know you're listening. I remember that my mentor said to me one time that every time I'm with him, that I seem to pull very heavily on the resources that he carries. And I'm referring to Bishop 𝐕𝐢𝐝. It's very important to be a good listener. Don't be in a hurry to talk. If you have the opportunity to talk. As a matter of fact, if you already know what you're going to say, it's even important, very important, to enumerate the things you're going to say one after the other. And I tell you, when there is that orderliness in enumerating the things you want to talk to the king about, it shows that these things are well thought out. It also shows what kind of person you are, how organized you are. It also shows that you have respect for the time of this person that you want to connect with. Very, very, very important. I talked about friendship earlier. Friendship will test your maturity. If you're in a mentorship, your mentor is not your friend. I don't care how friendly your mentor is. I don't care how much of a friend your mentor has become to you. Take your mind off friendship and keep your focus on mentorship. The purpose of your mentor in your life is not friendship. The purpose of your mentor in your life is mentorship. Don't go outside in the public and start introducing them as your friend, unless this person is for real your friend, who you place in very high esteem, right? But if that's not the case, if this person is a mentor and simply because of the relationship has given you privileges to allow you come really close, never introduce them outside as your friend. Introduce them as your mentor. Don't introduce them in a manner that the people at your level or the people who hear you find a good opportunity to dishonor them. Introduce them properly. Introduce them as your mentor. Let me also say this. Be guided in how you extend private privileges to the public. Okay, so maturity will teach you to know where to leave certain privileges, that no matter how close you might be to a mentor, to someone you look you look up to, right? Or someone who is that significant and valuable in your life, no matter how close you are to them, you do not want to just lift that relationship like that, the way it is in that form, and take it to the public. Where you put them, you might put them in bad light, because no one understands how you have related to where you have certain privileges with them. You take that into the public space and maybe talk to them like you would talk privately. No, you're going to put them in bad light. You're going to put them in bad light, and you'll expose them to disrespect and dishonor. You need wisdom and maturity. Observe protocols. Observe protocols. Well, that's how far I can go today. So I hope you loved it. If you can share this, share it. If you haven't followed me on YouTube yet, do so. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, and the next time a video comes up, you will be the first to know. Thank you guys. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. If this session has blessed you, leave us a comment and I would be happy to read it. Same time next week, I will be here with you. God bless you. Bye.